Hi everyone, welcome to Chapter 10 of the Go series with Microsoft Excel 2019 Comprehensive. In this video, you will learn how to get external data into Excel, how to use database functions, and work with side-by-side tables. Let's take a look at the chapter objectives. First thing we will do is get external data into Excel. We'll then clean this data up. We'll then be introduced to some database functions. We'll insert a second table into the worksheet. We'll apply some conditional formatting to tables that are side by side. We'll then create some custom headers and footers. We'll learn how to inspect a workbook and then look at some co-authoring options and preparing a workbook for distribution. So how do we get external data into Excel? We do this by using the get and transform data group commands. These commands enable us to bring data from an Access database, from the web, from a text file, from an XML file. We can also get it from other sources, such as a database on SharePoint or SQL Server. It could also be an external data feed. And we are able to bring the information into Excel without repeatedly copying the data. We do this by establishing a data connection. Now, a data connection is a link to external data so that we can automatically update a workbook from the original data whenever that original data source gets new information. Now, when we import this information, the information is organized as a database. And the format is very similar to that of an Excel worksheet. We're going to see horizontal rows and vertical columns. And there are three terms that are very common when we talk about databases, and they are table, row, and field. Now, a table is defined as data stored in a format of rows and columns. A record is a horizontal row that stores all the data about one database item, and a field is a vertical column that stores information that describes a record. So when we bring in this information from an external source, it doesn't always come in as we would like it. So for that reason, Excel has some text functions that can be used in formatting text. Now, these functions can combine or separate data. They can change case. They can also apply formatting to strings of characters. So depending upon how you would like your data to appear would determine the function that you would apply. So remember, we're talking about databases. And a database is a collection of data related to a particular topic or purpose. And we hear the term data and information. We define data as the facts about people, events, things, or ideas. These are single pieces of data, single pieces of that we place in fields, right? The information is the data that is organized and managed in a useful way. Now, we also have functions. Now, we know from the past that functions are predefined formulas that will perform calculations, and they're using specific values that we refer to as arguments. When we are working with databases, we have database functions. So when we use a table like a database in Microsoft Excel, there are specific database-specific functions that we use to summarize the data. And again, we refer to these as database functions. Essentially, what they do is they perform a query, and then based off of that query, they calculate results. These functions are recognizable because they begin with the letter D. The last objective in this chapter is inspecting a workbook. And when we are sharing our workbook with other people, it's important for us to maybe finalize the workbook. We want to make sure that it meets accessibility standards so we can run the accessibility checker. We also want to make sure that other people who may be receiving this are able to open it up so we can run a compatibility checker. And then we also have the document inspector, and this will remove data that we might not want to be seen if maybe we're going to post the file to the web or to someone that we don't know. So this is what we refer to as inspecting a workbook. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on the activity and open up our start file. Okay, so I have my start file here. When I downloaded my data files, I noticed there were a number of files. So make sure that when you download these files, you know where you download them to so you can locate them so you can complete the activities, and make sure that they are extracted because that is important. I'm going to go ahead and save my file. So I'm going to go ahead and do a save as. All right, and so that way I know where I'm saving this. I'm actually saving mine to my desktop. Okay, so the very first step is number 2. We're going to start with number 2 because number 1 is opening the file. So step number 2 asks us to make sure that the pharmacy supplies information worksheet is the active worksheet. All right, and what I actually am going to do is drag this all the way across so I can see all my files. All right, so I can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 worksheets. Okay, so we want the pharmacy supplies information. That's the worksheet that should be active. I'm going to go ahead and click in cell A2, and I'm going to go to the data tab, and we're going to go, whoops, wrong tab, data tab, and I'm going to go to the get and transform data group, and we're going to locate from get data. We are going to go to from database, and from that list we're going to choose Microsoft Access Database. Now I need to locate where I saved those files, and I placed everything on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead to my desktop, and there is that file right there at the top. I want e10g_pharmacy_suppliers.accdb. Right, that's the file that I need. Once I've selected that file, go ahead and select import. Once this opens up, I'm going to go and select, I need to select the 10G pharmacy suppliers, and then come down to the bottom where it says load. There's an arrow off to the right. I'm going to choose load to. That's going to open up a dialog box, and I want to make sure that I am putting this data into an existing worksheet. All right, I don't want to create a new workbook. I want to place it into the existing worksheet, and because my cursor is in cell A2, that's where it's going to import this information. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And when we've completed that, we can go ahead and we can close out the queries and connections pane. Okay, great. We're moving on to step number 3. I'm going to display the pharmacy staff worksheet, which is right, the worksheet to the right, and I'm going to click in cell B18. There's cell B18, and I'm going to insert a database function. We're going to insert the daverage function. So I'll begin with equals DA, and there it is right there. It's that third option. I'm going to go ahead and do a double click on that to open that up so that I could manually type it in. Notice it needs a database, a field, and a criteria. So it may be easier to enter this data by using the functions argument dialog box. Now they've instructed us that the database range is A3 through F16. So I'm going to go ahead and select A3 to F16. The field is going to be the hourly wage. So I'm going to type in hourly wage. And when I choose the criteria, you'll notice that it automatically places a double quote around the field name. And the criteria that we're going to use is going to be located in cell C18 and C19. So I'm going to come down to my worksheet, and I'm going to click in cell C18, C19, and it records that range in the criteria box. So if I look to the right, I can see my database. It's established of the A3 to F16. I'm looking at the hourly wage field, which is in column E, all right, and the criteria is the status, and we're looking for the status of pharmacist. So I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. And what it has done is it looked into this, what we established as our database. From the status column, it found every occurrence of pharmacist, and then it took the hourly wage and it averaged them for us. Before we move forward, we want to apply an accounting number format. So I'm going to come up to my options up here and choose accounting. And we formatted that result cell in B18 with an accounting number format. Next, we're going to move on to cell B21. In cell B21, we are going to insert the sum. So I'll begin with my equals, DS. All right, there is my D sum. I'm going to do a double click on that. Come up to my formula bar to open up my functions argument dialog box, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to simply select the range that would define my database. The field this time is going to be the wage per shift. All right, and my criteria, again, notice as I select move my cursor to the criteria box, it automatically places that double quote. Now, if we were manually typing this in, we would have to manually include that. All right, so that's why sometimes it's better to use the functions argument box, because it will do some of the work for us. So in the criteria box, the criteria is going to be in cell C21 and to D22. So let me scroll on down. So we are looking at C21 to D22. And I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. So what we did now was we looked at it, queried the database, and it said, okay, I want you to look for all of the pharmacy technicians. So it found every pharmacy technician, and if their hours per shift were greater than 0, then what is total their wages per shift. All right, so we get a value of 686.4. We'll go ahead and make that an accounting number format to be consistent. All right, next we're going to move on to step number 5. We're going to move in cell E18. I'm going to click in cell E18, and I'm going to type in maximum pharmacist hourly wage. And I'm going to use the format painter to copy the format from cell C18. So I'm going to click in cell C18, come up to my clipboard group and click on that paintbrush, and I'm going to come back to E18 and click it one time. And then I want to widen column E to 75 pixels. So I'm going to come up here. It says it's at 96. All right, so widen column E to 75. I feel like this is incorrect, so I am just going to widen it so the word maximum and pharmacist are readable. All right, I'm going to make it that wide. All right. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap the text and just leave it at, it looks like it's in over here. Not liking that. Maximum pharmacist. Let me go ahead and put that on left align. That looked a little bizarre. I do not know how that happened. In any event, we're going to keep it like that, and they want this at 75. I'll go ahead and bring this back. If it happens to not give you credit for this, then you could just send me a message and I can review it after everybody submits, and I can add these back in. Okay. So for now, though, I'm going to keep that at 75 and we'll see what happens. All right. So all right, so I just took a quick peek at the actual solution. So what I am going to do is I'm going to click in cell in that clipboard group, and let's go again and click on that paintbrush and go ahead and click on it so that we've copied that format, and just keep it at 75. I'm not quite sure about that. Anyway, so I'm not liking that. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just going to make that a little wider. Okay, let's keep it like that, and we will see what happens. Okay, let's move forward. We are on I got to remember where I left off here. Okay, so in E19 we typed in maximum pharmacist hourly wage. All right, so now in cell E19, let's click in cell E19, and we are going to begin a max if function. So I'm going to begin equals MAX, and then from that list I'm going to look for the plural one, ifs. I'm going to come up to my functions argument, open that up, and we're going to select the range that represents the hourly wage of the pharmacy staff. And that is going to be the range of E4 to E16. So let me minimize that up here. We want E4 to E16. Right? So that's our maximum range. Now the criteria is going to be represented, the criteria range is C4, so again let me minimize that, is going to be in cell C4 to C16. Notice that these are separated by commas if we were to manually be typing these in, as they ask you to do that. But we need to specify what the criteria is, and the criteria is specified for us in cell C19. So let's click in cell C19, which is pharmacist. And then I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So what it did was it looked in my database, it performed a query, it found every occurrence of pharmacist, and then it said from that list give me the one that is the maximum hourly wage. And in this case it is $38.80. Right? So with that selected, go ahead and put in accounting number format on that as well. All right, let's move on to step number 7. We're going to display the pharmacy's supplies inventory worksheet. And we're going to insert a table into the range of A7 to E42. So I'm going to go ahead and select that range, A7 to E42. I'm going to come up to my Insert tab, and I'm going to choose Table. Notice off to the right, it's saying my table has headers. Yes, it does. We'll go ahead and say OK. So we've now inserted a table into that range. Number 8 asks us to display the physician's clinic worksheet, and we're going to copy the range A1 to E32. Go ahead and copy that. I'll do a right click and choose Copy. I'm going to come back to my inventory supplies worksheet, and I'm going to click in cell F6, and I'm going to choose Paste. Now I have to be careful about how I paste this in. I want to make sure that I paste values and number formatting. All right, number 9, step number 9. we inserted the table. They want us to insert a table for the range F7 to J37. So select that range, and we're going to insert a table. Now, we could do it one of two ways. They say to insert a table, so I'm going to do it by the Insert tab, choosing Table. Yes, my table has headers, and then I'm going to apply a table medium style 7. I'm going to click anywhere in that table. I'm going to come up to my column heading, and I'm going to select columns H, I, and J, and I'm going to do an auto fit. Actually, they don't ask for J. I happen to do J, but I think we'll be okay. So we auto fit columns H and I. Now we want to sort these tables. We have to do them individually. We're going to do a multi-sort. So the best way to do that is to go to the Data tab, and under our sort, first we will sort by our model number, and that will be in ascending order. We're going to add another level sort. This is going to be, I believe, the purchase price, and that will be from largest to smallest. I'll go ahead and say OK, and we see that table on the left has been adjusted. We see our two sort arrows have been applied. Click anywhere in the table on the right, and we're going to apply the same exact sort. I'll come up to my sort command. My first level is going to be by model number in ascending order. I add another level, then by my purchase price in descending order, and then choose OK. All right, step number 11. We're going to apply conditional formatting to the range of E8 to E42. So I'm going to go ahead and select E8 to E42. And the conditional formatting is 3 traffic lights, and they tell me it's going to be rimmed. Now, I know conditional formatting is located on the Home tab in the Styles group, so I'll go right to my conditional formatting. And we're working with the icon sets, all right? And they tell us that in the instructions. It's an icon set, and specifically it is the 3 traffic lights that have rims around them. So if you're not sure, hover over. All right, so that says 3 traffic lights unrimmed. We want the one that is rimmed. It has borders around it. All right, and so these numbers, these colors represent, you know, highs, lows, mins. So if you look at all the greens, these are higher numbers. The red are lower numbers, and the yellows are in between. All right, so that's how we read those. All right, we're going to do the same thing, the same conditional formatting to the range in column J. So I'm going to come over here to column J, scroll on up, and I'm going to select that range, and go back up to conditional formatting, icon set, and apply that traffic light rimmed icon set to that range as well. Step number 13, we are going to insert a new rule. So they want us to select the range C8 to C42, so grab that range, and we're going to go back to our conditional formatting. Instead of using one of the options that we have at the top, we're going to go down here to where it says New Rule, and we're going to create our own a custom-made formatting rule. And so they want us to use a formula. So we're going to find the rule type in that list, which asks us to use a formula. And then in the formula box, our formula is going to be equal to C8, whatever the contents of C8 are, and whoops, I want the equal sign again, and it's going to be from that list. We want it to read, and we put a double quote in here because we're going to have to, pharmacy, Pharmacy Spill Kit. So we're going to spell in the word pharmacy with a space, just as we see it there, S-P-I-L-L, lowercase, and another space again, and then the word kit. And then we follow that up with another double quote. So that's what we're looking for. So now what we need to do is determine what the format is going to be, because no format has been set. So we're going to choose the format option, and we are asked to choose a bold and italics and the color red. So what it's going to do, it's going to look in that list, and if it finds the word Pharmacy Spill Kit, it's going to format it bold, italics, and in red. I'll go ahead and say OK. Once here, I'll OK my rule, and notice as I do that every occurrence of Pharmacy Spill Kit in column C in that range is formatted as we just instructed. All right, step number 14. We're going to navigate to the Physician's Clinic worksheet, and we're going to remove this worksheet. We no longer need it. If you remember, we copied this data and we put it side by side with our pharmacy supplies inventory. So we've consolidated those to one worksheet. So we no longer need this sheet. I'm going to go ahead and do a right click and choose delete. Notice when you delete a worksheet, you will get a notification telling you that you cannot get it back. So you are confirming, you make sure that you are 100% sure that you're not going to need it, because you cannot bring it back. Okay? If you happen to make some mistakes and you want to redo the assignment, you may have to restart from the beginning because of this particular step here. Just a heads up. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead, and I do want to delete this, so we're going to go ahead and say delete. And we've completed step number 14. Step number 15. We're now going to check our workbook for accessibility. Okay, so I want to go to the pharmacologic pharmacogenomics worksheet here, and we are going to select the image on the right. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the image, and then they want us to add an alternating text, pharmacy supplies. All right, so we go ahead and well, we have to run the checker first. So I need to go up to the File command, and it's going to be under the Check for Issues, and you'll see that you have 3 options, right? So if you remember from the beginning, you can inspect the document for hidden properties, you can check for compatibility, and here we're checking for accessibility for people who might have issues with reading. All right, and what this is doing is it's finding this image, and it's letting maybe the software reader recognize that this is an image. And so for someone who may be running some type of accessibility software, that would be meaningful to them to know that this is an image of some sort. So we can see the errors that we have over here, and if I hit that arrow down, I can see that there are 2 pictures in here. So by selecting the image, you can see picture 3 is the full image, picture 2 is this little tiny one right here. For both of these, we are going to go in and we are going to put a name on these, all right, an alternate text. So I need to go up to my Picture Tools format and choose alternate text, and I'm going to type in pharmacy supplies. All right, and I'll choose my next picture, and I'll do the same thing for this one. All right, guys, we're almost done. And I'm done. So notice now that my errors have gone away. I can go ahead and close that out, as well as close out my accessibility checker. Next thing we're going to do is group all 4 of our worksheets. So I'll go ahead and do a right click and choose Select All Sheets. And if I'm not sure, I can go ahead and make sure that they are all selected. They all have a gradient fill, but I also see that they're grouped at the top. And They want us to do this from the page layout view. Now this is not how I would do it, but we'll go ahead and do it this way. We're going to change our view from normal to page layout, and it breaks our worksheet into where we can see our header, our left, center, and right. Now in the right section of our header, they asked us to place the sheet name. And then in the footer section, so I can choose the go to footer, or I could scroll down. And in my footer area, kind of tough to see, which is why I'm not a real big fan of this. I'm trying to find my footer area. I think I can't actually find it. So let me come back here. Here's my table tools. Let's look at this. Design. Nope, nope, nope. All right, there is my, so I can see that is there. And let me scroll back down again. Let me see if I can find my footer. All right, in the left section, we're going to put in our file name. And this is why I do not like being in this section. I'm going to hop on back to my normal view. I'm going to go up to the page layout. I'm going to open up the page setup dialog box, and I'm going back to the way that I like to put this in. And I can see that that's where my footer has been, my header has been applied. I'm going to choose custom footer, and in that left section I'm going to put in my file name field. Now in addition to that, we're going to make some other formatting changes, but for now we're going to say OK once, OK again. All right, and when I go to my print preview, I'm going to see that, and we're going to do that actually in just a bit. We're going to do a control home because they want us to go to the top of the document, making A1 our active cell. And now we're going to center our sheets horizontally. We're going to change our orientation, and we're going to change our scaling. All right, so I can do all of this through my page setup. All right, so on my margins tab, I'm going to center horizontally. My header and footer, we've already done that. My page, let's change the landscape to our orientation to landscape, and let's, under our scaling, fit it 1 to 1. And we'll say OK. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is display our properties. So I'll make sure I can show all properties. I'm going to add the tag pharmacy supplies. In my subject box, and in the, actually my tags rather, and in the subject we'll go ahead and type in our course CISC 127. All right, and we can go back, choose that. Well, actually we're going to come down and do a print preview. Let's look and see what we got. So we should see our 4 pages here. Our first page, we see our footer in the left section. Our header is in the right. That's our sheet name. Everything fits on one page. It's centered. All right, and so we see our workbook. Every page inside of our work. We see each sheet inside of our workbook. All right, so we looked through them, making sure that everything looked pretty good. I'm going to back out of here, and I'm just going to do a quick save. And you can save this file and submit it for grading to the MyLab grader. So I hope this step-by-step of the activity was helpful. If you have any questions, please send me a message through the Canvas inbox, and I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you.